Hello learners, I am Pradeep Nayak, CEO Fuel India, also known as Fuel Media Solutions Private Limited. We are an event management company based in Bangalore and serving our clients for the last 10 years across India. I personally have been associated with this industry for more than 15 years, planning and executing events across India and Asia. Today we are going to talk about two important topics. The first one is event management, which is going to be a little brief, and we're going to go into detail of different types of events. So before I go into the second topic, that's the types of events, let me just quickly brief upon what is event management. Well, I'm sure there are many theories that you guys have read in your course book or the documents that you received, but I would like to just add a perspective to it. What I feel that event management is a combination of art and science. Well, art is required for you to come up with concepts and creative ideas, larger than life, out of the box. At the same time, you need the help of science and technology to make these ideas or to bring these ideas into reality. Hence, I would call it as amalgamation of art and science. There are many types of events that we have encountered. There could be category of events and there are types of events. In Wholesome, if you see, there are 35, 40 different types of events. However, these are all different subcategories that form under main category of events. So what we're going to discuss today is about types of events and in that, which are the main category of events. To begin that, I will also run through a small presentation, which will help us gain more information as to how these types of. So as we discussed, the first thing is what is event management. I'm sure you guys have gone through this theory, but at the same time, as Sean and Perry even said that event management can be more of an art rather than science. Well, I've told you my version. I feel it's an amalgamation of both. Now, types of event. There are regional events, there are sporting events, government and political events, cultural events, MICE events, which is called as meetings, incentives, conference, and exhibitions. There is concerts and live shows, entertainment and art events, social events, activation, charitable and fundraising events, and IPs. Let's go in detail. So in the next slide, we're going to start talking about detail about each of this type of event. You will see a few images and I'm sure would be relevant and you'll be able to connect better with what we're going to speak. So let's talk about the first type of event, that's regional events. Well, regional events are something, as the name says, something more specific to that region. Not necessarily I'm talking about India, I'm talking about regional event regions across the world. The first image that you see is the snake boat race that happens in Kerala every year. There are thousands of people who participate in this event. This is more of a regional based event because of their ecosystem. In that way, they have backwaters. This started as some cultural thing where people wanted to come together and slowly it became an event. And today it is attended by thousands of people and watched by lakhs and millions of people across the world through different channels. The second image that you look at, I'm sure, how many of you have watched Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? Well, I'm sure, well, I'm not able to see like how many people raised hands, but I know most of them would have seen. So there is this famous event that happens in Spain called the Tomatina Festival, wherein the farmers grow excess tomato and that is been brought to the city and people smash it at each other and play that game. It's celebrating life. It's more of a culture-based thing that they do. And Spain as a country is famous for this festival and which has been adapted in different movies. The third image that you see, I'm sure everybody's saying cheers, and I'm sure you would also would want to say cheers, but that's what is called an Oktoberfest. Well, that happens in Munich in Germany. This is something because Germany has been a largest producer in terms of beer, and they are known for different varieties and types of beer. They're kind of pioneers in the beer industry, or I would say in terms of creating more flavors in beer. So they're the first runners for that. Hence, they started celebrating not now, hundreds, probably decades ago, they started this activity of doing Oktoberfest to celebrate people coming together and enjoying a nice beer. So these are regional events, and as we go, I'm sure across the length and breadth of our nation or across the world, I'm sure each and every region have their own festival. Like for example, in Karnataka, we have the bull race that happens. It is happens in a place called Mangalore. So that's another famous festival that happens specific to that region. In Chennai, we have Jallikattu, which is also into mainstream news uh, for some or the other reason. But yes, these are different regional festivals that happen, and event managers or event agencies as such play a primary role in executing these events, in planning these events, in helping people gain more access, safety, everything to be taken care, and also gain more publicity from this event. So this is all about regional events. The second event, I'm sure each and every one of you have experienced this, because this is something that nobody in India, whether you like that sport or not, or whether you have an inclination towards that sport or not, you will encounter it. So the first image talks about Olympics. I'm sure it's been there even before we were born. I would say it's been there for more than 40, 50 years now. Yes, Olympics is one of the largest, I would say, a sporting event that happens in the world, where different nations come together and showcase their strengths across different sporting categories that's available there. So this image that is we are seeing here is the opening of Olympic Games in London. So it's larger than life, I'm sure. There are event companies or event agencies who been working for months, I would say a little more than a year also, like at least 12 to 15 months prior to this launch, where they work out the logistics, they work out the concept, they work out the design, and they make sure this event gets executed the way you see it now in the image. I'm sure the videos are going to be a lot more lively. I would suggest that you go on to YouTube and look at the opening ceremony of Olympic Games at Glasgow. The second image that you're looking at is IPL, and I'm sure each and every one of you who are listening to this video would have experienced IPL at least once in your lifetime. Well, IPL, as it says, larger than life, our own Indian Premier League, um, has always been in the news for the kind of opening, for the kind of after parties that IPL has offered, for the kind of stadium branding that has happened, for the kind of enthusiasm and enthu that has been there in the stadium. So all these things are how it is connected to event is that event managers are the people, or event companies are the people who manage, who plan, who conceptualize, and make sure what you see is brought to you or executed as per your expectation, or as per the expectation of the viewers. So IPL is another big example. Then we see the third image, which is Formula One. That is something that we've been hearing, I'm sure, with the toy cars that we've been playing since our childhood. Cars has always fascinated us. Formula One is one of the most premium, most event in terms of motocross that happens. It happens in Singapore. It used to happen in India. Now I don't know, for some reason it's not happening. It started at the Buddh International Circuit, and it happens at different countries. So you might have heard of Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton. So these are a few events that I'm talking about, but there are many, many more. You might have heard about Pro Kabaddi League. You might have heard about the India IHL, India Hockey League, and then we have the Badminton Series, and then we have the World Cup. We have the T20, and we have motocross. We have cross country. There are n number of events. If you start listing down, there are hundreds and thousands of events that are happening across the world. There is NBA basketball championship and many other things. So all these kinds of events where sports are primarily involved come under sporting events. And yes, event managers or event companies play a very important role in executing these events or sporting events. Now, let's come to the third category of events that are known as government and political events. This is something I'm sure, even if you have not experienced, something that we, our news channels or our media people have constantly fed us with all this information. The first image that you see is a launch of a Skill India program by the ministry. And the second image that you see is celebrating 2 years or celebrating 3 years of the Modi government. The third image that you're seeing is when Trump came to India. That was, I think, a recent time where he was welcomed by thousands and thousands of people. Okay, so This is nothing political, that way I'm using Modi's photo here or anything. I'm just using the current photographs. So government and political events, there are two things. So one is the political rallies that happen, like the huge rallies where lakhs and thousands of people come under one roof, or come under one ground rather. And such events have to be handled, planned and executed. That's where event managers play a very important role. And similarly, not only politicians as such, there could be different government bodies as the income tax department or the FICCI, or it could be the information and broadcasting or HRD ministry, who would want to conduct different conferences, reaching out to people, giving them information, or conducting conferences talking about the future or discussions. So government and political events are something that happens throughout the year. There are agencies that get empaneled with the government, and these events are on different scale. Probably on the central government, it's on a different scale, and on the state government, they're on a different scale. Next, we come to cultural events. So in cultural events, I'm sure each one of you who are seeing this video come from a different place, and you have experienced your own version of this kind of events that is happening in your locality or your region. So the first I use as a widely used example, the first one is the Mysore Dasara, which I'm sure everybody would have heard of, which happens in the month of October. Lakhs and lakhs of people come from across the world to experience this. The Mysore Palace is completely lit. There is a Jumbo Savari that happens, which carries the Lord Chamundeshwari on the elephant across the city, giving a tribute to the city and to the god that is there in Mysore. And at the same time, we have the king, which is currently the Wadiyars, who start the entire program. This program is viewed across the world through different TV channels, but there are lakhs of people who personally make sure they visit this in person and get a first-hand experience. So there are many details here in terms of execution. Could be different stages, different art performances that is happening across the city. Mysore as a city is completely lit and completely happening during that 15 days of the Sera. The second image that you see is one that is happening at the time of Janmashtami, where people are forming a pyramid to break the pot, which carries either different flowers or thing, which is a ritual to paying tribute to Krishna from people. And the third one we're talking about, which is there across India, and one of the most talked about festival is Ganesh Chaturthi. So cultural events have been a part of our life for a very, very long time. These are the events that have been happening for centuries. I would say more than 400, 500 years, even during the times of Mughals or during the times of kings and queens. I'm sure each and every such festival was celebrated with the same amount of grandeur, and that's what it's been taken forward. So each region has its own cultural event. So there is a little bit of overlap at times when we do talk about cultural events and regional events. Some cultural events are region specific, and some are not. So this is something, for example, Ganesh Chaturthi is celebrated across India. Krishna Janmashtami is celebrated across India. But Dasara and that grandeur happens in Mysore. But there are smaller versions that happen in different districts like Mangalore, or it could be in Madikeri and other places. But yes, not of that side. The way Dasara happens in Delhi is completely different. There is a Ram Leela Maidan where they have huge setup where they make huge structures of Ram and Ravan, and then there is Ram who there will be some drama, or there will be some performances that will happen towards the end of which they will light up the Ravan. So which happens at Ram Leela grounds every year. So every region has have their own version of celebrating the same festival. So these all kinds of events, I've just covered 3 here. I'm sure there are another 100 more that we can share. But these kind of celebrations or these kind of events also come under cultural events. And yes, the role of event managers are more than necessary in each and every such event to be executed. Next, let's talk about MICE events. So as the name goes, MICE, what is meetings, incentives, conference, and exhibition. MICE is something that is used by business organizations, by business houses or trade organizations. So when I say meetings, it's about meeting people under one roof or under different location with a common objective. Could be about discussing a current project, could be discussing a future project, could be discussing about the recent technology, or discussing something for the future. So meetings can happen for any purpose. Next is incentive. The first image that you see is an incentive program event. So what happens is that it is mainly used as a gratification platform. There could be sales, there could be dealers, there could be distributors, there could be performers of the company, of the businesses who have done really well. And it's a way of gratifying them by taking them to an exotic location, taking them to an exotic destination, taking them to a five-star property, pampering them with all the luxuries that they can encounter, and at the same time talking about the achievements and the future achievements that they will be doing or they have to do. So that's about incentives. I'm sure that the image talks for itself. People are enjoying. I'm sure it's a cruise that they're enjoying. The second image that we are looking at is expositions, or we call it as exhibition. Now, exposition or exhibition, there are two types of it. One is B2B, that's business to business, and other one is B2C. So what happens in exhibition is that there is a manufacturer, or there is a service provider, or there is a producer who creates a certain service or a product, and he wants to sell it. Now, where will he sell it? So exhibitions are a common ground where the buyer and the seller come together. So here what happens is that, for example, if there is an electrical and electronic exposition happening. So here the electrical and electronic component manufacturing company would manufacture certain components and come here, set up a stall, a booth, and show their products or show their services. At the same time, a person who's an electrical engineer or an electrical contractor or an aspiring electrical engineer student would want to come there, gain more knowledge, talk more about that product, get information, and probably buy those products. So purely, these are also known as trade fairs because there's a lot of trade that happens. So in B2B, what happens, as I mentioned, for an electric component, there are business people who come. So they see the product, they do business, they exchange cards, and they start doing business. So that's why it's called B2B. When we say B2C, it is called business to customers. That means, for example, we talk about the education expo. So what happens is that universities or colleges participate, they put up stalls, and they like showcase the courses and why should they join the college, and etc. etc. But the customers are parents, are students who want to get more information about that particular college. They come there, they get more information, and that's how a B2C transaction happens. So exposition and in other words called as exhibitions happen across the world. There are a lot of Indian buyers or Indian companies who participate in expositions across the world, or from across the world, people participate in exhibitions that happen in India. So this is all about expositions and exhibition. The third image that you see is a conference. It's a FICCI Frames 2019 conference. So conferences are a very integral part for business houses or for associations or for different government bodies also. So here there's a little bit of overlap in terms of the government events. So there are a few government conferences also that happen. So conference is a broader category. So government events also can come under conference, but again, it depends on what kind of event that government is doing. So conference is something that can happen. It could be like a metro rail conference where they're talking about the future of metro rail. It could be a water management conference where talking about conserving water for the future. Or it could also be about design conference where people are discussing different design ideas. So it could be a panel discussion, it could be a keynote speaker session, it could be a platform where people showcase future technology. It could be a doctor's conference also, where the doctors get to know more about the future in healthcare. So this applies across all industries, and almost every other industry, including institutions, use this platform of conference. Now let's go to the next category, that is concerts and live shows. As you see, concerts and live shows, or the photos that you are seeing here, the first one is about a rock concert. The second one is another, not rock concert, it's called the Enchanted Valley concert that happened. and the third one is a picture of sunburn. So here what happens is that concerts and live shows is a platform where a producing company brings in artists under one roof, and viewers or the audience would want to see that artist live. For example, let me talk about Sunburn. It could be Afrojack, or it could be Armin van Buuren who's coming. And I personally, if I have to see that artist, I would have to go to Germany or any other country where the artist stays or performs. But concerts are a platform where they, for example, they come to India, we get an opportunity to see the artist performing live other than what we see on YouTube or VH1, etc. So, but this is an opportunity where we get to see them live. The adrenaline rush of seeing a live performance is completely different. It cannot be compared to what we see on TV. And most of the artists, like for example Elton John or Bryan Adams, all the artists who have come to India, when they have performed, it literally gives you goosebumps. So concerts and live shows have always been the cream of events that have happened. And there is different genre. There are Indian artists also, like there are bands like Swarat, Raghu Dikshit, and many other. Mostly the concerts and live shows are ticketed, which are run by a different company who produces those shows. And those artists are paid according to their travel and according to their charges. So concerts happen across India every month on month. Every state, every district would have some or the other concert. Could be a national artist, could be an international artist, or could be a global artist. But concerts and live shows are larger than life. A small, even if I talk about a small concert, it would be around 500,000 people. But concerts which happen at Wembley Stadium or could be other places, it would be 40,000, 50,000 people, or at times it can go up to a lakh. So that is what concerts and live shows are all about. These images, I'm sure you would have seen, but I would also suggest that you go onto YouTube and type out a few concert names and experience and see it, how it looks. And if possible, probably after this class or after this course, if there's an opportunity, I would personally request that you could go and attend any of the concert that would happen at your city in the near future. And let's talk about the next one, entertainment and art events. Now, as the name goes here, when you talk about entertainment events, the third image that you see here, it's called Global Village. This is a setup that's done in Dubai and that stays there for like 4 to 6 months, where countries from across the world showcase their culture, their tradition, their art form and everything. And it's all inside that one compound. It's called Global Village. It would take you around 6 to 8 hours to completely experience that place. So that is something which I would say comes under entertainment. And there will be many other things like the Innovative Film City and many other. The first two images are actually about an art festival that is happening. It's the Kala Ghoda street festival that happens in Mumbai, or it could be the street festival that happens in Berlin, or it could be many other art expositions that happen. It could be the Dubai Design Week that happens, many such. So these art events are actually to promote a certain sector of artisans, to promote the culture of a country, or to promote the art culture of a particular region. That is why entertainment art events are done. So if you look at Global Village, as I told, it is a platform, or it is one place where different countries are showcasing their products, their culture, their art forms, etc. Similarly, at the street festival, there are a lot of artisans who come under one roof. They produce, they create artifacts, and that is, and also it is a way of expressing what the city feels, or what is the current thought process of the public in general. So here again, event managers play a very important role in terms of planning the city, how it has to be done, where all things, and how. And mostly these entertainment art events are not just for a few hours. It would stay at least for a day or two, a little more than that. Something like a Global Village goes on for a few months. So yeah, so this is pretty much about entertainment and art events. I'm sure you would have experienced few, and in case you haven't, I would suggest that go to the next art event that is happening in your city and visit it. Now let's talk about the next topic, social events. Well, this is something which has been happening again, as I told, one like cultural events. This is happening for centuries, but just that we never categorized it or never brought it under one category, or we never gave it a name. But now, for the last like 2 3 decades, we have a category, we have a name for it: social events. The first image that you see is a birthday party. Well, I'm sure it looks brilliant, it looks beautiful. Now we will be thinking like, who does it? Like who does extravagant birthday like that? Well, it used to happen during the times of the kings and the queens. It has happened now also. People who can afford it, or people who would want to, people who have aspiration of being more creative, they are the people who do such birthday parties with theme around it, and they hire event managers or event planners or social event planners to execute something of that level. The second image that you see is a wedding that is happening. So probably 25, 30 years back, our uncles, our aunts, or rather I would say our far relatives were all event managers for us during weddings. So what happens is that everybody comes together, everybody picks up a task, and they execute that, and that's how the entire wedding comes together. But what happened over a period of time is that when they're taking that family picture, most of them are busy either taking care of the catering or taking care of the decoration, and everybody is so exhausted that they're not able to enjoy that special moment of their daughter, of their son, or any of their relative. So that's when wedding planners, or I would say the wedding event managers came into picture. And for the last 2 3 decades, I'm sure everybody have realized the importance of being a part of the wedding, and they hire wedding planners for the expertise and make sure they are a part of those memories captured. That's how wedding events came into picture. And today we look at some large size wedding. Look at the Isha Ambani wedding that happened at Bombay, where we had biggest of the biggest celebrities and the political team from, I'm sorry, the presidents, ex-presidents of the US, and everybody were a part of it. But yes, it is something from a small scale to large scale. It completely depends upon the range of these, or I would say that the scale that people would want to celebrate. The third image that you see is a social event. It could be, so social event is about a general, like the third event mostly talks about just a evening get together, an evening gathering. It could be a reception. It could be just a get together to celebrate 25 years of marriage, or could be because he graduated from Stanford, or he graduated from Harvard, or they're expecting a new baby. So anything. So even baby shower. Okay, just before I forget. So even baby shower also have a range now. So people would want to celebrate or make baby shower more extravagant, and they want event planners to plan for them in a themed way. They want some new themes for their baby and baby shower and such events. So that is something that has picked up in the recent times in India, what I've seen in the last 5 6 years. So this is more about social events. And this before I go on to the next topic, so social events can also go further. So this is something that we have started adapting from the Western culture, and we have been more organized in this than what we were 10 years or 20 years back. But yes, going forward, there are a lot of companies who are also part of this. Now let's talk about the next category, that is activations. So now in activation, what happens is that activation comes as a big category, or I would say a big type under marketing. This is something that marketing cannot do away with. So in activation, there are two types. One is ATL and another is BTL. So I'm just showcasing BTL here. I cannot showcase ATL because above the line. So above the line is nothing much. Your print, radio, television, everything is above the line. Below the line is something that you see: mall activation, tech park activation, road shows, etc. So when a product is launched, when a service is launched, when a car or anything that you see here in the image is launched, they would want to reach out to the audience. They would want to reach out to their target audience and create an impression, give a brand recall, or give them a reminder of their upcoming product, showcase their service, give the clients a first-hand experience of the product. And that's where activations play a very, very important role. So how event managers play a role here is that event managers are the people who design how that, for example, if you see the third image, AC Cement, so they design as to whether it could be an LED wall that we have to use, what are the different engagement activities to attract the customers, how the look and feel of the stall has to be. If you see the first image, which is about SanDisk, which is about pen drives, so that the event company designs how the look and feel of the roadshow vehicle would be, what would happen in that roadshow, where will the vehicle stop, how will we interact, how will we give more information to consumers. And the second image that you see, the two cars of Honda are on display. So they will talk about the features, so the entire setup and where it should happen, which is the high footfall area. So all these things, research and everything is done by event companies, and they help execute and run such activations. In activations, there are even more like that, as I mentioned, tech park activations, or it could be apartment activations, or it could be about doing sampling at different stores. So there are many attributes. So these are all different types, but again, under activations. So now we talk about the next type, that is charity and fundraising events. So as the name goes, charity and fundraising events, it's a platform. It could be like first image that you see, Global Citizen Festival India. The second image that you see, it's an art. It's a art exhibition that's happening. The third image that you see is a marathon. So the event can be in any form. The event can be a concert, the event can be an exhibition, the event can be a marathon, the event can be like do-it-yourself workshop, the event could be painting, the event can be anything. The objective of this is charity. The objective of this is raising more funds. And again, that could be linked to an NGO that will be taking care of certain costs. It could be towards child and women development, or it could be about disability, or it could be about the warriors that people want to generate revenue and help, or it could be for some like Kerala disaster relief that happened, and anything for it could be for the CM relief fund or the PM relief fund. So objective can be different. Objective is mostly charity and fundraising, but the type of event can vary. It can be a musical concert, or it can be an exhibition. It can be anything. Now, how and what event managers do is that, so sometimes event managers or even companies come up with this concept, or sometimes they come up with this kind of concept with the NGO. So they conceptualize sitting with the NGO team, and then they come up with the event. They look at the artist, or they look at the platform that they would want to, and then they execute such events. So such events are planned, executed, designed, and driven by event companies with the help of NGOs, of course. So the next topic that we talk about is IPs. One of my favorite topics. I'm sure you might be wondering as to why. So what is IPs? As the word says, it's called intellectual properties. Now there are three images that you see. The first image that you're looking at is SulaFest. The second image that you're looking at is India Bike Week. The third one is IFA. Now it's three different type of event. You might be saying, I'm saying intellectual property and I'm showing three different. Okay. So what happens is that event companies or any producing houses, they come up with the concept. It could be a concert, it could be a particular category of experience, or it could be anything. When they come, they copyright the concept, they copyright the name, and then they execute it. For example, the third image that you see is IFA. That's an award function that is for the Indian film industry, that is owned by Wizcraft, one of the pioneers in the event industry. So they own that award property. And there are many such, there are many more. There is a Filmfare, there is Star Screen Award, there is Z-Cine Awards and everything. But IFA as such is an IP that is owned by Wizcraft. So nobody can do something like IFA. Like you can do similar award functions, but you cannot do anything which has the name like IFA. The second image talks about India Bike Week. India Bike Week is done by 70EMG. This event happens in Goa every year, where all the bikers of exotic bikes like your Harley Davidson or Triumph, or it could be India, or could be KTM and Royal Enfield. They all the riders across India, they come to Goa. They meet experts who are into the biking industry. They share their thoughts. They meet the community, and they share all the knowledge that they have. They share their aspirations, and also get to experience some of the world-class motoring enthusiasts give talks about their own bikes and their experiences. So India Bike Week is an IP that is owned by 70EMG. And so yes, I'm sure anybody else can do something like this. Yes, they can do a bike day, or they can do a bike month or anything, but they cannot do India Bike Week. That's a name that is copywritten to 70EMG. The format cannot be copywritten, but very similar format, a little twist is how people will do. But yes, India Bike Week, as the name goes, as an IP, is owned by them, and something very, very similar you won't be able to do, but yeah, little deviated. There are many. I'm not saying that you have to do, but there are a few that's already happening. So, and the third one is SulaFest. SulaFest is something that is a brand owned thing. So SulaFest is owned by the vineyards, Sula Vineyard. They're the people who are into wine selling, making and selling. So they host this every year with multiple experiences like the grape stomping and things like that. They collaborate with few other brands, and these events are again executed by event companies, but owned by companies like Sula who own the IPs. So there are IPs which can be owned by the companies. There are IPs which can be owned by the event companies, but brands definitely will come together. So another event that we can look at is Bacardi NH7 Weekender. We can look at Sunburn, which is by the company Percept. So there are many. So these are by the companies. And at the same time, we have Vodafone Cyclothon. So that is an IP which is owned by Vodafone, but planned and executed by an event company. Yes, whether it is owned by a brand or by a company, but it's always planned and executed by an event manager or by an event company. So this is all about different types of event that I wanted to discuss. I'm sure this has given you a great insight on different types and categories of event. It would be great if you will be able to go back to your systems, or could be go onto YouTube and do a little bit of research on these kind of events in terms of watching their videos, which will give you more clarity in terms of understanding what is event industry all about, or what are the different types of events. Thank you all, and listeners, all the best.